Hey, this is Mr. Hughes. We're working on our playing card holder right now, so most of you should have completed a series of sketches. If not, you need to get those to me as soon as possible. That being said, let's get going on making this on the computer. You have three options. If you already started in Autodesk Inventor and you want to continue, that's fine, you can continue. That's one option. If you don't have a Mac or a PC at home and you only have a Chromebook, there is a program called Onshape that's all online that you can try to use. If you're not in those two camps, then this video will get you started. We're going to start working on Fusion 360. It's an Autodesk program just like Inventor. Let's see, it works on Macs and PCs. It's free to download and free to use. Now, regardless of your situation, you need to watch this video because you need to see what it is we're doing so that you can make it in the other programs. With that being said, let's go. Okay, today we're going to start to make the playing card holder. We're going to do this using a program called Fusion 360. We've been using Autodesk Inventor. They're both by the same company. So let's go ahead and see what we can get done. This is my sample that I made. I'm going to show you how I made this. You can make yours like this if you want, or you can make it your own. So we're going to start off by going File, New Design, and we're going to start with a sketch. So we're going to go Create, but we need to make a new component first, and actually I'm getting ahead of myself. Document settings, let's go here. Units, I usually work in millimeters, but for this project we're going to be using inches. So we'll click change the active units to inch. Now we can go create new component. We're going to name this component our playing cards. Say OK. And we're going to come up to the unsaved here, click on that, and we're going to go create new component a second time, and this one is going to be our playing card holder. All right. We're going to go into our playing card first. We're going to select it. See the little dot there? That activates that component. We just have the origin. We need to start off by going Create and go Create Sketch, because we're going to create this from a sketch. We're going to select the Z plane, and we're going to make a center point circle. Not center point circle, center point rectangle. And if we come up here, you'll see there's a 2 point, but we can click Create, go to Rectangle, and go to Center Rectangle. We move our mouse over to the center, click, and drag out. We're going to, let's see, forgot to put my notebook. Have my notebook here with our specs. Our playing cards are 2.48 wide, so 2.48. And we hit tab and it goes to the other one. It's going to be 3.475 tall. I'm going to say OK, and then we're going to click Finish Sketch. Now, that gives us a two-dimensional plane, but we need to make this 3 dimensions. So we're going to go to Create, and we're going to Extrude. Now you can also type the letter E. Anyway, since there's only one sketch, it realizes that that's the thing we're going to extrude. We're going to extrude that 0.65 inches. Say OK. And when we do, it makes our extrusion and our sketch went away. If we come over here into our playing cards component, we can see that the eyeball just got turned off. We can turn it back on if we want, but we really don't need that. Now, Since playing cards aren't square on the corners, we're going to round those off, and we're going to be using a 1/8 inch end mill, so we'll use 1/8 as our rounding radius. We're going to do that by going modify, and we're going to make a fillet. A fillet makes a round corner. So we're going to click fillet, and then we're going to select the corners. Now notice I can grab a face, I can grab an edge. We want to grab the vertical edges all the way around. Notice how I can select through just by holding it over. We get all 4 of these. Come up here and we got 4, it says 4 edges. We want to make that 0.125, which is an 1/8. Hit return. And now if we look at from the top, we see that our corners are rounded. We'll go back to our home view. Next thing we need to do, we've got our playing cards done. We're going to go to our playing card holder and we're going to activate that. And we're going to turn off the body one. And actually, let's give it a name while we're here. We're going to double click on it. We're going to call that playing cards. So we know that that's what that is. We can then turn off that view, click away. We're still active in our playing card holder. We only have the origin. We don't have any of these other things. So let's go ahead and shrink those up. Actually, let's just get rid of the whole thing. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to create a new sketch, but instead of going up to the create, we're going to try this. We're going to go S, which is shortcut, design shortcuts. I have center rectangle, and notice if you didn't have all these and you don't have the one you're looking for, it pops up and you can just type in search. So you could type in rectangle and get the center rectangle. We're going to click on the Z plane again. We're going to go to the center and we're going to draw basically that same shape. So it's 2.48 by 3.475. Enter. Now, we can't make the hole for the cards the same as the cards themselves, otherwise they won't fit. We need to add something called tolerance. So tolerance is just a little extra space so that things can move. Now to do that, it's real simple. If we look up here in our modify tool, we can already see what we need. It's the offset. So we click on offset. We're going to click on our rectangle, and it selected all of it. If it hadn't, we could select it all. But it wants to make it go in, and we want it to go out because we want to give room for the cards. We don't want to make it smaller. And we're going to, so that means that it needs to be negative. So we're going to go negative 0.05, and we'll make that a little bigger. Now, really good. We've got our hole. We're going to use that as our hole, but we need to add a few things to it. We have no walls, no wall thickness, so we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go, but this time we're going to try S, and we see our offset right there. We're going to click the same one, and this time we're going to go negative, and we're going to make this 1/4 inch, 0.25. And now we've got that. In the one I made, if we click back here, you can see it's got the round corners. So we're going to add those. But before let's go ahead and add those. So those, we're going to do the same thing, type S. We're going to find our center diameter circle, and we're going to put it in the lower, if we zoom in, lower left corner of our original square. And we just click, and it will allow us to zoom to start the circle. We're going to make this 1 point, let's see, 2, 5, 1 1/4 inch radius on our circle, and hit return. Great. Now we have 1, but we need 4 more. How do we do that? We could draw the individual circles on each one of these, but we're going to use something that's a little more fun and a little more exciting. We're going to go S, and it doesn't show up in the thing we want doesn't show up in our shortcuts. So we're going to type PATT because we're going to go pattern, you'll notice we want a rectangular pattern. There's two patterns. Typically when they show you more than one, the first one is for sketch, the second one is for bodies. Well, we're in a sketch, so we're going to take the first one. So we're going to click on that first one. We're going to click on it. Look over here, we got one object selected. That's all we want. We're going to make it come across to the other side. Now you'll notice it's giving me 3. Well, that's its default. We only want 2. And we need to make this distance, since we're going from corner to corner and we know what that distance is, we're going to make that 2.48. And then we're going to click on our up arrow. We're going to do the same thing, but again, it's giving us 3 because it's its default. We're going to go down to 2, and we're going to make this 3.475. I'm just going to type that in. Bam. Now, we let that finish. Cool. We're good to go. We've got our basic shape. We're going to click Finish Shape, or Finish Sketch. We're going to then bring that up. We need to draw the bottom. So we're going to start extruding. Now we could create an extrude, or we can just type the letter E. And we want to select everything. So easiest way to do that right now is to just draw a rectangle around it. And we're going to make that 1/8 of an inch tall. So we're going to type 0.125, and we're going to hit return or enter, and that gives us our base. But what happened? Our sketch went away. No problem. We just click on the triangle, go down to the sketch, and we're good to go again. Now we want to extrude more, but we want to extrude through this. So what are we going to do? We want, if we look at our original here, and let's turn off the top and the plexi cutout and our sketches. Let's just turn out. There we go. Now we can see that we want to bring up. Actually, let's go ahead and put the top on, because we want to do this all in one piece, and then we'll come back and cut it. So we're going to bring it up, and then we're going to round off the tops. So let's go back here. We don't want to bring up the part in the center, so we're going to go E for extrude. I'm going to click and I'm going to hold, and then you get the option. I can click there. Well, that's going to take a lot of clicking and holding, so it's probably easier just to rotate this upside down, and we can come in here and we can grab all the parts that we want, which is just the outsides, right? We don't want that inner part. There we go. So we got all those. Go back to our view. We're going to bring them up. Now notice oh, we missed a part, so we're going to hit cancel, type E for extrude. Let's go back underneath. Let's get all the parts this time. Let's do the center parts first, or the rectangle first. Make sure we have it all, and then we can get the 4 corners. And we'll go back. Now this we're going to want to extrude up. We need to make it 1/8 of an inch plus 0.65. So we're going to go, we could try and do the math, but we can let it do the math for us. So we're going to type 0.65 plus 0.125, takes it up another 1/8, but it's red, which means it's going to cut. So we don't want to cut. We want to come over here to our operation in our window. We're going to change that to join, and we're going to say okay. Now we need to make it, actually that was 1/8 plus 0.625. So now the top of the cards would be right here. We didn't come up far enough. Let's go ahead and extrude it. We're going to extrude another 0.25. So we got a 1/4 inch on top. So actually, no, we're going to do an 1/8 because we're going to use 1/8 inch plexi. So 0.125. And that brings us up another 1/8. And we're good to go. Now, we don't have a top. How are we going to fill this in? Really simple. We're going to go back to the bottom, and we're going to type E for extrude. And this time, what we're going to extrude is that center part. So we're going to go around, and we're going to select everything that we didn't select before, because we're going to put the roof on this thing. So I'm just going to go around, and I'm going to select the squares, make sure I got all the squares. Then I can do the corners, and finally that centerpiece. So I should have 13. Okay, that makes sense. 13, because there's an odd one there. Now, we don't want to start extruding from the bottom, because that will cut or join, and we don't want to join all the way up, because that'll just fill in our box. So what we're going to do is we're going to start, instead of from profile plane, we're going to try and start from object. We're going to click on the top, and this time we're going to extrude down. We're going to go negative 0.125, down 1/8, and we're going to join for our operation and say okay. Now let's go ahead and turn our sketch off so it's a little easier to see. But how do we know if we got it right? Well, we'll go up to our inspect tool, and we're going to go to section analysis, and I'm just going to click and hold, and I'm going to wait until I see, there we go, the XZ, and you'll see that it's basically cutting it in half, and you can see looks good. But I noticed that we forgot one thing. We still have a rectangle in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit cancel, and we're going to go, let's see if we can do this without looking inside. F for fillet, and we're going to find those verticals. Not that one, not that one. There it is. And there. And we're going to type 0.125, because that's the radius of our end mill. So we're going to say OK. We're going to come back to inspect, section analysis, and this time we're going to just select the face on top, because we want to come down and see that yes, we in fact got the right corners, and we have it set. Perfect. Now, last thing that we're going to do in this video, and then we'll pick up next week once you get to this point, because I really think you should do your own shapes, but if you want to do this one, that's fine. We need to do a couple things. We can't get this hard edge on the outside because we're using an 1/8 inch end mill. So we need to fillet some more. So we're going to click fillet, and we're going to click on these verticals. If you want to, you can rotate it around. I just have gotten comfortable doing it this way. Oop. And I selected something I shouldn't have, so we're going to hit cancel, try fillet. There we go. There we go. Sometimes when they're right on top of each other like that, it's hard, so you may need to move it or select it in the right order. And click and click. Now these, there we go. We have 8 edges. Perfect. These we need to also do the 0.125, because that's our end mill. And what that'll do is it'll make that corner on the inside rounded. You can see this rounded corner. Say okay. So now we know that we'll be able to get that whole shape with the end mill. Now, we need to do one more thing, and we'll be done for today. If you want to continue on, you can play, but we'll try and keep this short. We're going to go F for fillet again, and we're going to click on the top. Now, if we push this in, we see that if we get too far, we're going to actually, it'll break, number one, but it'll also start carving into that part in the middle. We don't want to go that far. So we're going to go, let's see, let's do this 0.375 and say okay. And now if you look at this, you'll notice that it's rounded on those corners. So we've got a shape very similar to this one. If we would, let's put, okay. And we should be, we're on our way. Just a real quick one here. Sorry, I thought we were done. We need to do something. Notice that this says untitled. So what we need to do is we need to go File and Save. Now you will eventually get different folders. I'm going to leave it in my Mr. Maker Monday folder. We're going to call this one Playing Cards for CIM. And I'm going to hit Save. You'll notice it saves it there. Now, if we click on this little Show Data panel, you'll see that we've got a bunch of stuff here. You can always get to it. All right, so now that that's been saved, we are good to go.